The notion that the masses themselves have the innate potential to imagine and create a new, better world is at the heart of the intense level of political engagement on social media, which is one of the things that has led to the crises of the Western world. This is also an idea that has never worked. It has been disproven again and again and again. Here are some examples of that. Vladimir Lenin wrote a book in 1901 called What is to be Done, 16 years before the October Revolution, which established the USSR. The book concerned the strategies of the socialist movement. He harshly criticized many of his opponents in the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party for multiple theories of theirs, one of which he called tailism. With this term, he was referring to socialists and communists who believed that their role should be to simply listen to what the masses of workers wanted and let them dictate the way, as if to simply follow behind them. From this point of view, it is the workers themselves who will inevitably be radicalized by the brutal chains of capitalism that they endure and intensify the class struggle, ultimately embracing Marxist ideology and imagining and forming the government that they want. The Marxist organizers can aid them, but to dictate to them the lines of march would be chauvinistic and wrong. Lenin said that this could not possibly work because the workers cannot spontaneously organize themselves without leaders. They cannot come to a consensus about what type of world they should live in. They will never act in a unified and coordinated manner by themselves. And in any case, they also lack the knowledge and experience to develop strategy and tactics sufficient to overthrow far superior political and military forces. To solve this, Lenin proposed vanguardism, where a political party made up of professional revolutionaries would use their own heightened class consciousness, their intensive study, and their experience to raise the consciousness of the workers and help them mobilize more effectively. I don't believe in Lenin's politics, but he did have an idea of how to change the world, and it was from the top down. And it succeeded in producing enough communist states to encompass 1/3 of the world's land area and 40% of its population. It has mostly fizzled out since then, but at least it got off the ground in the first place. Most of the socialist movement, including the anarchists who vehemently oppose imposed hierarchy and authority, still use the tailist approach in all of their organizing, even though it never works. The Occupy movement was a concrete example of this. Massive crowds of people were summoned to Zuccotti Park, and at first it took the form of a traditional political rally, with designated speakers and lead organizers. But anthropologist David Graeber and other anarchists present were dissatisfied with this, so they went to a different part of the crowd and started helping people organize themselves using their own preferred tactics. This turned Occupy into a remarkable leaderless movement, with the people themselves using what they called the human microphone. The crowds would repeat in unison whatever was being said by whoever was speaking, so that everyone could hear it. Out of this came assemblies where the masses themselves, that is, anyone who came to the park, could endlessly discuss and debate ideas. Unfortunately, this led to nothing at all. Occupy became bogged down in endless meetings and never came to a consensus on anything or took any further bold action. The problem was that Occupy wasn't about anything except for very vague unifying slogans. Occupy Wall Street, the 99% and the 1%, these slogans which got everyone into the circus tent, and this method of self-management. What was missing were two very important things: what sort of world we should live in instead of this one, and how exactly we should confront the entrenched power in order to realize this world. And there is no chance that something that works would have ever arisen out of these meetings, because this is getting political organizing entirely backwards. You have to start with an idea and organize around that. Starting with the masses did not work. The most damning thing is that even in the end, the only thing the masses could do was what the anarchists told them to do. The Arab Spring also consisted of leaderless movements, and it resulted in the same thing. There were popular youth movements and rebellions against Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, and the United States helped them overthrow him. But this resulted in a much worse government with a worse economy and a return to open slave markets, problems that the left-wing dictator Gaddafi had actually been holding back. And in Egypt, masses of people managed to overthrow the government after being summoned by social media, only to watch in horror as the void they created was filled by the Muslim Brotherhood and their Islamist vision of politics. All they could think to do in their protests and demonstrations afterward was to beg the military to overthrow the Muslim Brotherhood and restore the previous government, which they did. All of the arguments happening on social media will not produce a better world. Social media was not even designed to help you do that. It was designed to make money, and it makes money by making you angry. The algorithms of social media have a bias towards making its users angrier because this is the most effective way to drive up engagement and raise profits. Those social media companies are now the ones supporting Donald Trump and other demagogues who thrive on anger instead of rational discourse. This was stated by Joe Biden in his farewell address when he warned of a rising tech industrial complex. That is what one supports with every angry response they post. And for as long as social media continues to exist, this mob mentality will only become more and more dangerous as it is reinforced in a never-ending feedback loop. I predict that a different type of stronger state power will emerge in the future to resolve this problem, but not from the demagogic right. Instead, either the left or the center will turn the state into something stronger than these transnational corporations, which produce many of our problems. In short, the state will reassert national interests over the global market, which will put an end to neoliberalism, which I see social media as an expression of. What do I believe in? What is my ideology? What I believe is that the emotional turmoil of ideology always blows analysis off course. I have far more in common with Henry Kissinger, Theodore Roosevelt, Lord Palmerston, Vladislav Surkov, and Niccolò Machiavelli than I do with a liberal, a conservative, a libertarian, a socialist, or a fascist. I consider myself a hard realist who is more satisfied to see the world for what it really is. Beneath the layers of sophistication and self-deceit, yes, it is a competition for power and nothing more. A chess match where there is nothing except for the interrelations of the pieces on the board.